there's some folks now pushing for defunding local police departments. What's your view on that?
So I have like views on both ways if you have to think about it. So first of all, let me tell you about the police department here. You only have 6 months of training, and you're a police officer, which I think is very limited because you have to train yourself in many things: mental health, how you treat with mental health people, how you deal with pretty much overdose, who's a drug addict. You need to deal with certain people like that. In 6 months, what kind of training you get? Like, there's not enough training how to even treat someone. Like the first thing, like if I was a rookie, like oh my God, he's gonna kill me. What I do? Like, what's the first instinct? Shouldn't you think about it? But they don't have that in 6 months. Do you give them that aspect? Do you train them? The first thing what they do when people like attacks you or something, do you take your gun out first right away? Like, is there any other tactics you could use? Like, they don't even have that specific training. And defunding them, and I think we have enough funding. We don't need more, but we need to use the funding to create more training for police officers. I mean,
yeah. So when someone joins a police force, I guess I was under the impression they would go to like a police academy for a couple years or something.
6 months.
Oh, so it's 6 months. Yeah.
So even if you're like, if you go and like if you're a psychiatrist, how many years they train them to deal with a mental health patient?
Yeah.
And many cops deals with people who have mental, like just think about it. Just some sort of, I need more training, just how to talk to someone who's not maybe correctly sane right now, or maybe he's suicidal, maybe he's doing something that, how do you, like, I just don't believe in the training concept we have in 6 months that, okay, you're a rookie cop coming, I mean, you're in the worst neighborhood in New York. How do you deal with them? Like, in my opinion, is just not enough training. We need to get them training. And we need cops to also understand that they also abide the law. Like, if you do a mistake, you need to face these incidents, and you need to get punished for it too. So the police officer who actually put the chokehold to George Floyd, he had 17 or 18 prior complaints.
Yeah.
So why was that not being investigated?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess if I were to play devil's advocate, they would say, if
qualified immunity.
Yeah, or things are investigated and nothing came of it. People complain all the time. He was doing his job.
It's qualified. That's what immunity. That was what they were looking for, and nobody did anything. And I think that's not correct. He should have been out of the job a long time ago. 18 complaints.
Yeah. I also read that the other folks that he was working with were all rookies, and perhaps they also did not have a lot of training. Like, a couple of guys were like they were at McDonald's, but literally working at McDonald's before they took that job.
Tom, I have to ask you something. I even if they're a rookie, the first thing, even if you're walking down the streets, if someone says, "I can't breathe," that's the first thing reaction. Okay, let's help him. Let's say any reaction. Yeah. The first reaction, anybody is a stranger, I can't breathe. First thing with any stranger, the first thing is do, as a humanity, as a person, my God, he can't breathe. Let's see what we can help. That's a human reaction. And other four stood there and didn't do anything. I don't agree with that. Like, I understand they were rookie, but I can't breathe is a big, big question. I have people, like my husband had a heart attack in the streets about 3-4 months ago. People from the grocery store all came out. He's alive because of the people in the grocery store.
Yeah. Now, the defense attorneys for the others are saying that Chauvin was the training officer. He was the 2 decades of experience, former military MP, and they were following his lead. What's your take? Do you feel like all of them should be culpable for Floyd's death, or do you think it's just Derek? Or
no, because they were there. They saw that. As I said, I can't breathe. They could have said to their officer, look, he can't breathe, man. Maybe he can't breathe. Maybe it's true. Like, maybe you could just let it go, like something. I think they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I just don't agree that they all stood there, and I understand he's their trainer or he's their boss. No way. That is something I can't breathe. Like, he's saying it and you're not reacting. And I don't agree with that. I think they should be punished exactly the same way, because, you know, you were there and you did not try to help this person.
What do you say to people who feel like that this is not the first time that a black man has died while he was being put under arrest, and that marches alone are insufficient, and that some of this violent kind of civil unrest that we saw was kind of necessary to get people to pay attention? How do you think about balancing the need to really have change once and for all versus safety and the local neighborhood and that kind of thing?
Well, I would say violence is not the answer for anything. I think peace is the way of answering people. I do understand people are upset what happened, and maybe that will make a turn to the country. I understand people's concept. But even though when you're destroying a neighborhood, for example, the people live in that neighborhood. Not everybody live in poverty. And when you destroy a neighborhood like that, it hurts the people. There was one woman who came out and said it was so sad. It's like, you destroyed my neighborhood. And there was glass in the store. And she's like, look, we don't have a lot in this neighborhood. By destroying now, we have to come out and clean up the neighborhood. Please, we beg you. We want to hear. She said, I'm a black woman. She said that it was on last night or night before, crying and taking a broom and cleaning everything up. Like she said, this is not the way of creating awareness. We need to create awareness in a positive way. And that was so sad. It was really bad. It was a housing neighborhood. And there was no stores there. It was like maybe 2 grocery stores. And they're like, we have no money anyway. So what are we going to do? She's like, go away from us. It was so sad. But I also think some of these reactions make people wake up a little bit. And some of these reactions, like in Sunnyside, the big thing was, we're here for protest, and the cops were lining up, and 8 o'clock, everybody went home. Because I went with my 14-year-old daughter. That's how safe I was. And I think it's a bit what people are trying to say. Some people were holding barricades against the Target mall, that we're not going to let you break it. Like, it's a lot of different things. I think the aspects of the what's happening into the stores, into some stores in the city. Mostly, I felt like it was the city.
So let's say if you were in Congress today, sounds like the increase in requirements for police training would be a big part of what some of the policy solutions you would think about. Are there other things that you think you'd advocate that could help heal this divide and provide more kind of fairness to everyone?
We need to do an accountability act, the George Floyd Accountability Act. That has to be a law. Like, people need to, any police officer or government official who tries to do anything to a civilian like that because of race needs to be accounted for. And I think 1 strike would be more than enough. Like, this is something that's hit the nation. Like, you have to make sure these police officers take accountability because they broke the law. That's something we need to face the consequences for it. And I know there's a bill out there. They need to repeal the Qualified Immunity Act.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting when a police officer is killed, it's a huge deal, as it should be.
Yes.
Because it's kind of an act against the legal system. But interestingly enough, you could argue that, well, when a police officer kills a citizen who has not yet been convicted and has not been sentenced to death, then that should equally be like a massive deal for society. And yet, until now, until the sort of advent of all this camera footage, we don't have that same kind of kind of intensity of reaction. And so I tend to agree with you that the same way that when a police officer is killed, the whole system is under attack, you could argue when a police officer kills, the whole kind of justice system is kind of under attack.
Yes.
Do you feel like how would you try and prioritize your time if you got into Congress? Because there's so many, like we were just talking about, there's so many issues that are important. I mean, we barely talked about environment, education, housing. Now we're talking about like criminal justice, economic kind of, empowerment, on and on and on. These congressional representatives, those 2 years probably go by pretty fast. And, you don't want someone else 2 years from now saying, wow, what does she do in 2 years? Well, how would you try and get something done quickly?
Well, for example, we have a lot of candidates who are supporting UBI. I hope all those candidates out there win their seats, especially in New York. That's something, because I think if you want to pass something, you have to work together as a group. That's what I was thinking. Because I think the Democrat Party had an issue of who's my friend, who's not my friend, who's actually a Democrat. I think there was a lot of problem in Congress in the last 2 years. And with the presidential election, I think the Democrat Party was not very strong. Some people were supporting this person and some people this idea. So I think we need to get a platform and we need to work together. That's what is important. As a Democrat Party, we need to be strongly put together. And with one concept right now, let's bring back the economy back. How can we help the people who are in need, and especially people of color, people of faith who are suffering? And that's what we need to target. We should work with each and every one of the Congress to see how we can help each other, which I think there's an issue with that in the Democrat Party.
Yeah. So what's your take on Nancy Pelosi's leadership of the party and the House?
Well, I think she does positive. Everybody has good things and bad things, but she's a very strong leader and she knows pretty well what to do. Right now, it's something that's keeping the party together. And I think if she could keep the party together in a positive way with the upcoming presidential election, we should focus on that right now.
Yeah.
Remember, it's important.
Yeah. So what do you think is going to be the key for this presidential election? How can Biden make sure that
he wins?
That he doesn't step in it? Yeah.
We need a very good vice president, that's for sure, right?
Uh-huh.
And we need the entire Democrat Party to support Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
And we also need people to go out and vote, which people don't do. And I understand some people were Senator Bernie fans. I understand some people were Elizabeth Warren fans. But at this time, we need to change the administration of our country. And the way we could do it is if we go out to vote and we have a different president for 4 years.
So what advice would you give Democrats who are saying, I liked Buttigieg or I liked Booker or Yang, and now I'm not happy with Biden? Like, what would you say to them to get them to get out there?
Do you want Trump again? I'm like, you saw his last tweet? And that's what I've been telling people. I'm like, look, there's sometimes you don't, maybe you're not a fan of the current candidate for president, but you have to understand that's part of the Democrat Party. And it's time that we change the administration. The administration is hurting us right now. It's hurting everyone. So it's time.
What do you think there's so many things that are difficult about the Trump administration. What concerns you the most about how he's been leading the country so far?
He's he's totally against Muslim people, color people, the way he acts and makes comments about them, like the Muslim ban. That was not necessary. Like he puts everybody it makes it more Islamophobia for people. That was just horrible. I don't know if you remember the time.
Yeah.
I had families couldn't come back. Friends couldn't come back. That is ridiculous. They were born here and they couldn't come back.
Yeah.
Like that is something. Then he made a tweet, the thugs, come on. Like, really? You're the president of the country. And I think these comments he makes is just makes people more like frustrated, and people are angry, like the way. And then the worst thing, look what he did with COVID-19. If you would have made it, he knew in January, February, he should have shut down the country then. It would not have been so bad.
Yeah.
The way the administration works, it's not. And in February, Larry Kudlow, so, oh, we're great. Our economy is doing wonderful.
So I've heard some Trump supporters make the argument that those of us who are in the Democratic Party or opposed to Trump, we get too worked up about his Twitter feed, that he's just playing us. He doesn't mean any of that. Just like, get over it. Like, we're overreacting. Half of what he says, it's just to get a rise out of all of us. And then he's not really that bad, in terms of policy. So like, ignore what he says. What's your take on that?
I sometimes I do agree, but now the nation is much more different. People live on social media. That's what people were doing for the 3 months, and that will react people. As a president, I think whenever you tweet something, you have to understand you're tweeting to the whole nation, and your word is word to mouth. So as a president, a leader of this country, you tweet things like that, and people should just take it quietly. I don't agree with those. Yeah. And I tell them, like, how about when your friends tweet you something, don't you get rattled up? Oh, he said this to me and he said that to me. Exactly. Like a common thing. So when the president makes a statement, it's a hurtful statement. And then me as an individual, like, who is this guy? What is he talking about? How, like, his tweets are with his racial comments, people don't take it positively.
Yeah.
If he's thinking about me like that, what he's going to do in the White House?